Hey, everybody. We're here on the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. I'm Ashton Jean Lewis. Of course, this show specializes in the best and the worst that sports has to offer every single week. And luckily for us, we have one of the best. Jasmine Brown, what's up? How's it going?
Hi, how are you doing? I'm good.
I can't complain too much. We got a lot of stuff. And honestly, we could go a wide range of things that we can talk about, but I'm trying to keep this condensed. I know you're a busy woman. You got big moves to make on a regular basis. So we talk about the WNBA, but first I wanted to talk about like how you got into sports media as a whole, like where it started out for you and how it's gotten to the point where you work on one of the biggest sports media profiles in on social media in general. So you work with HighlightHer, which specializes in women's sports highlights, which most of the time is like really amazing stuff because gymnastics really doesn't get the love that it actually deserves on a regular basis. It's truly one of the wildest sports that is the most brutal out of all of the contact sports, because usually in gymnastics the contact is between like a person and the ground. So a lot instead of a person and another person. So yeah, can you tell me about how you got to the point where you are now?
Yeah, it was an interesting journey. I started out as a mechanical engineer in college.
Oh, subtle flex. Oh, but are we really not going to talk about where you went to college? I mean, you tweet about it all the time. Are we not going to talk?
Of course, I'm a Maryland Terrapin forever. That is my school. But yeah, I started off as an engineer, and I realized that I wasn't happy. So I called my mom and I told her, I'm like, hey, mom, I'm not happy. And of course, parents thinking, big bucks with engineering. But I told her, I was like, look, just trust me. Just trust me. I got this. And now she's seen, 10 years later, she sees that. But, I just did a lot of stuff in the area covering the Mystics and covering local teams. And then I ended up at ESPN in 2019. And the pandemic happened, so I was out of work, and then I ended up at Bleacher Report. So now I'm running HighlightHer, which is women's sports. So I started, doing an array of sports, and now I have condensed it down to women.
So Maryland has been going through an interesting turn of events, like with transfers, like the ladies team in general. What's the deal? What's happening? You got the inside scoop on it?
That I don't know about, but if I did, I wouldn't talk about it. That's not my news to break.
No, I got you.
I don't know. I mean, I know everything came out with the football team when all that happened, but women's, they just seem to be on the cover, so
yeah. So you said you started covering the Mystics. Can you give a little bit of insight how you just like one day went from mechanical engineer to WNBA reporter, like covering professional sports and like some of the best women basketball players on the planet, best basketball players on the planet in general?
Yeah. So I ended up having like some personal issues, which made me actually end up out of school for a semester. So it was like some personal like family issues. I was like really like depressed, and the grades were just not there. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I'm not in school right now. I'll be back in the fall. Well, I'll be back in the spring. So I just started my own sports website, and nice. One day I was just watching. I watched women's college basketball, but never the WNBA. And I knew about it growing up, but I just didn't watch it. And I saw Game 5 of the Lynx Sparks game in 2016. And the only reason why I knew about it was because I knew Candace Parker went to Tennessee and she played under Pat Summitt. I knew Pat Summitt passed. So that was the only reason why I watched the game, because I was like, oh, okay, she's probably, hopefully they went for Pat. So yeah, like at the end of the game, I was like, wow, like I want to cover this. It's crazy that the last game of literally the entire season was the first game that I saw. But I was like, you know what? I want to cover this. So I sent I kept it in my mind that I wanted to cover the Mystics for the next season. So when that came around, I emailed the PR and hoped I can get a credential, and I did. So nice. That's literally how it started. I would really credit everything to even back to just me being away for a semester. making that happen, because I feel like if that didn't happen, I probably wouldn't be where I am right now. So
No doubt, no doubt.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's wild. First of all, it's just absurd that you're able to do like all the things that you're like becoming a mechanical engineer and being able to basically do like another career, being so good at it that you were like, you know what, this is actually like not that appealing to me, so I'm gonna move on to something else. Other question, other talent that you have, your baked goods that you make and sell on a regular basis. And I feel like every time I see it, they sell out faster than the last time you made stuff. Where did that start? Where do you get your recipes from? Please let people know how when you reopen shop where they can get the good stuff at.
Yeah, well, it's open now. It's been open. I just haven't been promoting it as much because I'm busy with my day job. So
Right.
I need to get back on the promo. But yeah, you know what? I just started baking. Like I like to cook and bake anyway. And I had like a little show on Snapchat back in college, like almost 10 years ago. But I just wanted to try it out. And I was like, let me just see where it goes. I need some money. So like let me
I
just
feel
try.
that, no doubt, no
Yeah.
doubt.
I was like, let me just try and see where this goes. So I started in 2019. I got the job with ESPN. So I kind of had to put that on hold.
Mm-hmm.
Then the pandemic came.
All the
Right
time in the
now.
world.
Yep, all the time. So I was like, you know what? Let me just, because the unemployment checks weren't coming in right now. So I was like, let me just try something. And I put the link out there. A couple people bought, and then the big turning point was the Buy Black, like after George Floyd and everything happened. So like I just started putting my business under a lot of like Buy Black threads and stuff like that, and people saw it, and yeah, it took off and blew up.
No doubt. Hey, look, every time you post a photo of it, it looks amazing. So
Yeah.
I just I don't eat chocolate. So it's one of those things. Don't
Right.
no follow-up questions about that. I saw the look on your face.
I understand.
It gives me headaches. So yeah. Anyway, other stuff we could talk about now that we've talked about everything that led up to the point where you are now. You a big fan of the W, you were a big fan of like women succeeding in sports, despite all of the dudes in the comments constantly. It is so sad. Like
it's
I
crazy.
the softest dude. If you want to, like, first of all, if you're a person out there and you're dating someone, you should check out the comments that they've posted on Reddit. Just in case. You never know. Comments that they write on Reddit, you say a lot about a person. Anyway, but yeah, the W season is the playoffs are just around the corner, and it has been relatively interesting how certain things have gone down. We'll start off with honestly probably one of the strangest stories in the history of the W, but probably one of the big headlines going into it. The Phoenix Mercury are a playoff team. They were in the WNBA championship just a year ago, and somehow in the course of one season, despite winning a lot of games this year, their whole team is collapsed in on itself. They have like a situation where like a coach, in the attempt to like raise up another player, tore down another one. Skylar Diggins-Smith is like skyrocketed in number of technical fouls he's been accruing since the situation has gone down. They had a player who got one of two, I think, in WNBA history contract divorces. That was followed by Liz Cambage, which I don't know if you have any comments on Liz Cambage, but we can talk about her later if you need to. But yeah, the Mercury as a whole, still a good basketball team, but for some reason filled with drama in every single turn of the way. And now we're finding out that Diana Taurasi's basically done for the season. What has been like your perception of what has been your perception of this season of the Mercury season, just with everything all together? And then on top of that, do you know where this all started? Do you know like what the origin, like day zero of what has turned into a wild that season for them has been?
I do not know. I remember, when the graphics and everything, when Tina was announced she's going to be joining, I'm like, okay. Everybody was like, okay, you know what? They're going to go back. We even had a graphic made and everything. But yeah, I really don't know. It's all a blur. I think the W season has just been ridiculous all season anyway, so I really can't even start with the origin of it. I mean, of course, with Griner and everything that's going on, I knew that, it's going to be some type of emotional something, to kind of play for her type thing. But
you would think that, like, with the Brittany Griner situation going on with the Mercury, for those of you who don't know who are watching this interview, Brittany Griner is one of the most probably the number one center in women's basketball in the world right now. The only person you can argue is even like close to her level is probably like Liz Cambage or something, or maybe in that category. Anyway, Brittany Griner is the number one center in women's basketball. She is the situation where she's currently incarcerated right now. She's been found guilty of her situation. But you would imagine, like most time in sports, that brings people together. You know what I mean? Like the whole oldest, like, we're gonna do it for the giver kind of thing or whatever. But for some reason with the Mercury, it has not gone that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just issues, that could hopefully be sorted out in the future. I mean, we see things like this in sports anyway. Teams going, they're in the finals, even win, and then the next year it's like, what happened?
Right. Like Ray Allen leaving the Celtics, and then like him and Kevin Garnett still not being cool with each other all these years later.
Exactly. So it's just it happens. It's sports. So it's either you at this point it's up from here. So that's all you can think about for next season.
And this is like kind of out of left field, but I have to ask somebody who's an expert on the W just in general and watches it on a regular basis. So I covered Queen Egbo, who plays for the Indiana Fever, when she was in high school. And I remember her like as a freshman, had her on my previous podcast. She barely wanted to talk to me. And now she's like this gigantic personality. If you follow her on Snapchat, she's hilarious. She's constantly, she is a menace to her teammates. I'll say that much. But what's the deal with the Fever? Like, is that like a business decision that they're making in terms of like the investment in younger players? Because I mean, they have 5 wins this season. Like, is that intentional, or is that just kind of like a product of the fact that the W is just that deep on a regular basis?
You know what? I think with after they won the 2012 championship, I just think that the decisions that they've made just haven't been the best. And I think they're trying to focus on younger players. But I know, unfortunately, the last either 2 or 3 drafts were not in their favor because they were supposed to get number 1 picks.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work. So I feel, I think luck is just not on their side. So that's like, it's just like, dang. So I think
how are you gonna have the swaggiest jerseys in the league and then just
I know
6 wins?
That's what I had. That was my fear. I'm like, dang, like y'all did it with the Stranger Things, and then just plop, you're all at the bottom, and you're the only one eliminated right now. So it's just I really thought that if they can at least get number 1 picks, 2, I think they would have. I mean, I want to see them like skyrocket, because the WNBA is just deep anyway, but they could have done something. But I mean, We'll see. We'll see what happens. They're definitely going to be rebuilding for a little minute, probably. So.
And I say that because I'm concerned about my girl Queen, mainly because she's never been on a team that's not been ridiculously good at winning. Like her time at Baylor was absurd. Her time when she was in high school was absurd. She was an All-American. So like when she gets to the W in like her first season, it's like not even double-digit wins. Like, you know what I mean? It's tough. But speaking of tough, let's talk about the Mystics real quick. Y'all kind of cooking this year. They got a little, I mean, they got a shot. What's the deal? Like first of all, difference between last year's team and this year's team, and why you think that the Mystics have been as successful as they have been this season. And then what, like on a scale of like 1 to 10, like what are their chances of, hoisting the trophy at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think, oh God, how can I say this? The biggest change is chemistry. I think the chemistry was not as great last year. And then also Elena was not fully healthy. And Alicia Clark was actually out for the season. So I just think chemistry, and then those two big factors definitely derailed their path. And they had a chance to clinch. And they had a chance to clinch if they won against the Aces last year, clinch the AC. But I think this year, Shakira is definitely, she's been cooking. I knew when it was announced that they're, going to trade. I'm like, Shakira might be coming here. I just think she fits, and Ryan fits in Atlanta. I think it was a perfect switch. So she's been doing well. Elena is back, Alicia's there. So I think overall the chemistry has just been really great. I mean, they've lost some games and lost some bad, but
hey, look, it happens. It's basketball.
Yeah, it happens. But some of them artists be like, yeah, what are y'all doing? Like, what? No.
It's a long season. Okay,
no,
sometimes you gotta have a night or two off. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you do. But the team. I mean, I would say probably through everything that that's happened in the organization, I think they've been one of the most consistent in terms of like getting players, like getting the players, and just Mike Tebow's coaching. I just think they've just been very consistent. Yeah, they're fifth right now, but I just think overall they've just been a very consistent franchise, only missing one year since 2017. So I think they have a good shot. The way it's looking right now, though, they're going to Seattle, so we're going to see how that goes.
Last time I checked, Breanna Stewart's still pretty good at basketball. So
exactly. And then you still have the Sue agenda. So we're gonna see how that goes. I know that those games are going to be sold out, and if it plays in the Storm's favor, the series won't even come back to DC with the new 2-2-1 format. So, or 2-1 format.
I was gonna say, do you actually like that? That's actually kind of wild how you can like if you're a high enough seed, like the other team never gets a home game.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I like the 2 out of 3 because you do have, at least you get another opportunity. It's only 12 teams. It's not like it's March Madness and it's 64 of them.
Right.
A series in college would be ridiculously long, but I think at least if you snag a win on their home court, you can, you automatically going back home. So I like that better. And I don't think in a pro league, besides football, you should have any situation where you only have like one chance and you go home.
Right. No, I get you for sure. Other stuff. Speaking of the Mystics, I have to ask, she said at the beginning of the season, is Natasha Cloud a shooter?
Well, she's a shooter.
I just wonder.
She's been a shooter, but I think personally for me, her defense has been incredible. Like, yeah, she said she's a shooter, but I think she's a defensive player for real. She has been phenomenal, and she had to grow throughout her career, with that, and the Mystics have stuck by her with that, and I really love that. But for her, so she shoots, but her defense has been great.
Okay, and I have to ask this as an Aces fan, myself personally, it's the Ace, like it's gonna come down to the Aces in Seattle to get to the finals, right?
I think so, for sure.
Okay,
I would be shocked if neither one of them make it, honestly.
And then like the sudden spark, of course, Asia Wilson being as dominant as she's always been. I mean, basically since day one. I mean, she's already got a statue of herself at her school. Right. Most people have to wait until after they retire for that kind of stuff. And it was just wild to read that story where she was like, yeah, like my grandmother couldn't even walk on this campus back when she was a little girl. Right. And now like I have a statue on like right when you walk up to it. It's pretty dope. And then Asia Wilson, of course, former MVP, former WNBA MVP, now has Kelsey Plum. They lose Liz Cambage and somehow still maintain their absolutely ridiculous dominance. They get the highly sought after Becky Hammon man that everybody in the NBA has been teasing is going to be a head coach, but nobody's actually like made her a head coach. You know what I mean? Because the circle is so small. Like Rick Carlisle's already on his like third team in the spans that Becky Hammon was in the NBA as an assistant. Anyway, the Aces, they seemingly have changed, but the results have not. They're still out here getting dubs. Do you see? Are they a completely different basketball team than they were a year ago? And what if they get to the WNBA finals? What do you feel like is the reason that they were able to do it this year and instead of what happened last season?
Yeah, I think of course coaching. You have a first coach. I did not have a doubt with Becky
Right.
at all. But I think in the beginning of the season, I think the biggest factor was definitely Jackie Young. I would think she would probably get MIP. But it could be a bevy of other players. But I think, her stepping up and really just inserting herself as being the player that we knew she could be has definitely been the reason. Of course, age is Asia. That's you can't change that one.
That's my concern about her like not being able to get another MVP, because like her base level is so ridiculously high that it's above everybody else. And it's just like, yeah, now we need you to average like 35 a game. And it's like, cool, that's like really unreasonable. I hope we all realize that. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I just think I personally though too, they've been very dominant despite their bench not being the best either. A bench is very important. I think, with the Mystics, they have a bench, but the Aces don't have a bench, but they've just been winning. But I think the Erica's going to be out for some weeks, so that's going to be a hamper. But yeah, I think despite that, I think they do have a solid chance to get there. I think the thing that will definitely hinder them will be bench play. Like if there's another team's bench that will outplay theirs, and then if that happens, starters will have to come back in and they might be worn. So we have to see how that plays out.
No doubt. So we're talking about the WNBA playoffs. Give me so two teams out of each conference that you feel like can end up in the finals, like the top four teams going into this playoffs. And who's the finals matchup for you, and then who's winning it? And then we can talk about, I have two other things I wanted to mention that are not related to this current WNBA season.
Okay. I think my top four would definitely be the Sky, the Aces, the Storm, and the Mystics. I think those are my top. And I would say I would love to see Sky Mystics. I would love to see that. Candace versus EDD. That'll be like amazing to see. But I think it'll be, I don't know. I might have three scenarios, but
we got time. I want to hear all three of them. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised first if the Sky win it again. They'll do a repeat. I wouldn't be surprised if the Aces, like when Asia gets her first ring. But then I also wouldn't be surprised if I see Sue right off in the sunset with a ring. So yeah.
Which one is the league really crossing their fingers for? Because I have one that seems to be
for Sue for sure.
I just
you already know. So I think those are my possible ones for sure.
Okay, so two things. One involves Kelsey Plum. The other one involves college basketball when it comes to the ladies. So it's recently been announced that like Paige Buckner's tore ACL. Another like massive derailment for what has been one of the most hyped college careers, I think, in basketball, because of her not only just what she was able to do in high school, but on the simple fact she's at UConn and the expectation is to win a championship every single year. Her best friend AZ Fudd is there, all that kind of stuff like that. It was all kind of coming together. And now after she broke her kneecap, right? Like she like cracked her kneecap last season and now she's torn her ACL. is this kind of stuff like affecting her draft stock is my question. Like, what is going to happen for her, like when the time eventually comes? Because now she's like on the verge of missing 2 seasons in a row, even though we all know she's immensely talented. There were some, she's transitioning from high school to college basketball, high level college basketball, and going to the WNBA is even an even bigger leap than that. Are we like heading down the path where like Paige goes from, like, without a question, like, why do women basketball, like why do the ladies in basketball have to stay for 4 years when Paige looks like she could be playing in the WNBA now, which I disagree with, because she's a child and they're grown women that she would have to play against, and they are not playing around out there. But nonetheless, there are people who are, asking the question of like why she can't be one and done. And now we're going on back-to-back years where she's got like long-term injuries that she's dealing with.
Yeah. Well, to answer that, the one and done type thing, that's just not going to happen for the women.
Right.
It is different between the men and the women. I was actually just talking about this with somebody a couple days ago. The women are built different. Oh yeah. As opposed to the NBA side. You're gonna die. And
I think even now, like you look at, like you talk about the NBA, right? Like the Pelicans are a team that is filled with a ton of one and done guys, right? Like a ton of one and done NBA basketball players, and they get bullied. Like they're kids playing against grown men. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's very similar to like imagine asking an 18-year-old to defend LeBron James. Regardless of how talented that 18-year-old is, old man strength is a thing. Woman, like being a grown woman who has been a professional athlete for a long time is a thing. And to deny that is just foolish. That's what it really comes down to.
Yeah, but I mean, I personally don't think that it will affect her draft stock. I think, if anything, she might still be number 1 anyway, or number 2. Depends on who's going to go through there. But I mean, yes, it's really going to be bad to not see her at all this season, because we did see her last
towards the end.
season. Yeah, we saw her, but then again, it was like it did spark conversation, like, she wasn't even taking out the game, and that's how she ended up injured. So
right.
I think that was a coaching mistake. But I think overall, yes, it's going to be really bad, but that gives a lot of outlets opportunity and not be lazy to cover other people in the league.
Like AZ Fudd.
Exactly. AZ Fudd, Leah Boston, all them. So and Caitlin Clark, it's just a lot of people that, you're gonna have to look at them and be creative. But I don't think I think overall, I think UConn will probably still be fine. And I know she's going to help out the team, but I personally don't think it's going to affect her draft stock. I mean, if she's fine by senior year, I think she'll be good.
That's a lot of pressure to put on 1 year basketball, man.
It is
coming off an ACL tear.
Yeah, that's definitely hard. But I think so with her though, she can maybe look at, or maybe if she's not talking to Breanna Stewart, because she went through that. Her Achilles, and then she came back and won the championship. So
right.
I think she has a lot of support around her, and I think she'll be fine. I think the way our bodies are now, it's not how bodies used to be back then. I think a lot of people are recovering quicker. Even like Kevin Durant, like he tore his Achilles and he came back. It's just the bodies are just not. They're not what they used to be.
Yeah, and a lot of things around the game are not the same, right? Like the way, like what you do after a game, like the fact that people used to think you couldn't lift weights after a game to like work on resistance training, the fact that ironically enough, not ironically in this situation, but like Paige has an NIL deal, like one of the biggest ones with StockX, a company that specializes in elite level footwear. And I think that makes a massive difference in the way that like the body breaks down now in terms of what it used to be back in the day, where dudes used to be wearing Chuck Taylors with no support whatsoever, running up and down like concrete floors. And no doubt. Last thing here, the league has to expand, right? So top three cities where you want to see a WNBA team, please add Houston in this.
I think I won't add Houston because I feel like that is probably just inevitable. Like I think that's everybody's top pick. I feel like if they were to roll back that, I think honestly that would probably be the most monumental event in WNBA.
As a Houstonian, yes. I live in Houston, and I would love to have a team back here. And like the saddest thing is like when you go watch the Rockets play next to the Rockets like championship banners, they still have the Comets banners up there. So it's like mad respect
nice.
to yeah. So
okay, I didn't even know that. That's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the rollout would be literally insane. But I think besides that, the top three that I wouldn't mind, definitely Florida. I think the Dream needs some southern proximity down there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had the Orlando.
You talking about Miami? We talking about Miami?
Yeah, you can do Miami. I think Miami, they need a team back because that's what the Sun, the Sun was. They were the soul.
Right.
So I think Miami would be good. I think, even with the Heat, the Dolphins and the football team, I think that'll add to it. I think people, they love the sports down there, or kind of, sort of, but I think that'll definitely help. The Sting, North Carolina, hopefully they can bring that back. That'll be dope to bring them back.
The basketball mecca, they claim, you know what I mean? So yeah.
I think the third, I think Cali has enough teams, but I think possibly
just say Wyoming. That'd be hilarious. Just like in the middle of Utah, Wyoming, right,
middle of Utah,
Montana.
No, I don't know. Midwest is just, I mean, I don't know. I would probably go either Portland or Toronto, probably. I think Portland will probably be good. I don't know. I mean, eventually you will have to stick a W team in the Midwest. So I mean, I don't know, maybe like Oklahoma.
I just don't feel comfortable signing up Black women to end up in Wyoming. That's just me personally. Yeah. I know the league doesn't care about that. They gotta, by the way, whoever is in charge of the trophy department for the WNBA, the new hire that I'm expecting to see that job posted at the end of this season. We gotta work on something. Do you like the Commissioner's Cup, by the way?
I do. I just don't. I personally don't see why it's in the middle of the season or after All-Star. I mean, All-Star just happened, and then you going into doing something for. I mean, I get it; it's for a cause, but
you know what that is, right? Like the NBA is using it as a tester to do it in the NBA for like, because what is it? Adam Silver loves that concept of like the FA Cup, the Copa del Rey, which is the like basically the Spanish national, like the country of Spain has all their Spanish teams play or whatever. He just wants to copy that because he likes it for some reason. I'm sure it generates a ton of money, and also it gives teams that can't win the NBA championship an opportunity to win something. I think
I think so. I mean, I don't have an issue with it. It's just placement of it during the season. This is kind of, I mean, it's clearly stated that, it's going to be played throughout until that point. But right. I don't know. Maybe I know, like, like with the NFL, like they have the Hall of Fame game. If it was something like that, before the season, maybe.
My thing is, I think it should be used as a justification to expand the rosters. And then you can send like a non-mainstream roster for the team to compete in the Commissioner's Cup, right? Or it's like we get a roster from like, it's 12 in the W now, but like we go from 12 to 18 and we can add a whole line of players for the team, and it can distribute the minutes a little bit more, and it can give shots to people who are trying to fight for a spot in the league at some point or another, instead of being like, I know they want the superstars to play and all that kind of stuff like that. That's probably not going to happen, especially when the W doing it. Of course they played it full out because they played it on the up and up. They knew, one, they gave them like the financial incentive, right? Like the players get paid off of it. And then two, like when it goes to the NBA, they're not going to be like, hey, we're going to put Damian Lillard in this miniature tournament. that means nothing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, what you said is a really good idea, honestly. So yeah, I just think at least having it before the season or earlier in the season, I think will make the most sense. Because at that
Okay.
point, a lot of legs are not as fresh around that time. So
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, look, as a person who played pickup basketball last night, can't do it. You know what I mean? At a certain point, it gets, yeah. Other than that, Jasmine, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Oh, I got your take on the Nike deal, getting the new uniforms, everybody finally having an away jersey and not just having one universal jersey they wear. Who's at the top of the list for the Nike gear that they got that looks the dopest? And I'll let you get out on that one.
Which one? WNBA.
The WNBA.
Or W?
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, I definitely have to go Fever,
The Stranger Things edition. Yeah. I thought that was like really, I was like, man, that's like really kind of topical because I mean, I don't know like how many people are just like, oh, like why do they have blood splatter on their Indiana Fever uniform? You know what I mean? It's like, no, it's a reference to like a really dope TV show. And how many people were like, right. No, I enjoyed it as well. I thought it was pretty cool. The Chicago Sky one it really pops like when it's on screen. Yeah.
That was really good. I like that one.
I just wish they would sell the shorts.
I need shorts and I need the warm-up pants. I need
the warm-up pants are fire. Okay.
I need the warm-up pants. I saw Skylar had some one time. I was like, I need those, but they don't.
Yeah. And I try and go through my back channels of like finding Nike gear that like falls off a truck, you know what I mean? That like that kind of stuff like that, and just can't find it, man. I just want the shorts so I can buy the Phoenix Mercury shorts that has like the flame going up the side. Yeah. As I may be a 30-year-old man, but like my inner child is like, we want shorts with flames on them because that means like fire good. Right. You know what I mean? Fire good. Anyway. Appreciate you for coming on the show, Jasmine, and wish you nothing but the best. Can you please tell everybody where they can find you or where you want them to find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can follow me, Jazz Van Go on Twitter. That's 2 Z's on Twitter and then 3 Z's on Instagram, and then follow HighlightHer on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah.
No doubt. Appreciate it.
Thank you.